Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is DeemGW. Thank you for stopping by, and today we are going to be talking about whether you need self-help and whether this is something that we need collectively as people in general. I think a lot of people would think that this is a ridiculous video because why would anyone even question this? Of course we need self-help, right? But just stop. I mean, don't rush to conclusions because I might give you some interesting ideas here that will really make you think, hey, maybe this self-help is doing the opposite of what it was intended for. Because I know it sounds so positive self-help, right? But then this self-help can actually obstruct you from some things. And let's talk about this, right? So first of all, if you'd like to skip to the summary section or the most important points of this video, then please go to the progress bar that you have below me or in the description box below, or you can find all the times around me. All right, so then let's get started. First of all, I just want to let you know that I'm not demonizing self-help. It might sound like I don't like this or I don't approve of this, but that's not the case at all. In fact, I'm practicing self-help for such a long time. I think at least 7 years or something like that, like 7 active years. Before that, I would do, I don't know, maybe another 5 years of on and off, kind of commitment type of relationship with self-help. But 7 years were very focused, right? And let me tell you something, it was good until it wasn't. And how is that even possible? Well, we'll get into this, okay? So our authentic nature, and we're going to talk about this as well. Our authentic nature does not need any self-help because it's already perfect. I know it sounds maybe a little bit strange because how is it possible? How is it possible that I have then so many problems if you're telling me that my authentic nature is already perfect? Well, guess what? It's because of the ego VR, or of the ego type of glasses that you're having on that you don't even realize that you're having, that is skewing your perception and distorting your perception, your view of yourself and of the world, and making you think as if there's something wrong with you or the world, of course. All right, now let's talk about why self-help does not work. It's because, well, let's think about it. What are the types of people that are attracted to this type of work? It's people that usually, and I was one of them, of course, people that think that there's something wrong with them, or that they are okay, but they'd like to get better, which means they are still not there. So they think that there's something that they need to work on in order to become good enough. That's the key point here, good enough. As if you're not good enough, and as if you need to be repaired and even replaced in some case, right? As if you don't like yourself so much that you need just to renounce yourself and then to create a new one instead of accepting you. And that's not working very well. Non-acceptance is not a good idea. And why it's a problem? Well, because no external achievements, whether it's materialistic achievements like a car, a house, or psychological achievements like being able to wake up at 5 a.m. or something like that, that's not going to give you internal peace inside. That's still materialism, because materialism says that if you gain something from the external world, that's going to make you feel better and going to make you feel as if you're whole internally. And that never works, and never did and never will, just so you know. Even if you develop your charisma, for example, or you become a better speaker, or you become more productive, that's still not going to fill up your hole inside and make you feel like you are complete now, or as if you're finished, right? And have you ever reached something that you thought that's going to give you a lot of I don't know, happiness, fulfillment, right? And then you did this, but it didn't work as you have planned. It should have worked, right? So you think you would be happy after reaching this thing that you've been working for 5 years for example. And then guess what? You're happy for how long have you been happy? A week, 2 weeks, a month, maybe 2 months, maybe even longer than that, but it's not going to go a lot more than that because the motivation was external. And you've been training yourself to think that the grass is always greener somewhere there, but not here. Well, definitely, obviously not here. And you've been training basically the muscle of, I'm going to go somewhere there and I'm going to work for the future, for a brighter future, and disregard basically the here and now. So when you got into the future here and now, if that makes sense, in that future where you got this, whatever was that achievement, you've had at that point really trained your muscle of disregarding the here and now and idolizing or idealizing the future. And then of course you're not going to be happy with the here and now, because what can you expect other than that? Because you've been training for this, right? Your initial emotional attitude is going to be magnified. So if you're doing something out of a sense of I am not enough, I need to do this in order to repair myself, in order to become a correct, whatever human being. If you're thinking like this, right? What's going to happen is that you're not going to become suddenly a person who thinks that he or she is worthy. Even if you achieve this, you have to start doing this out of a sense of fullness. I don't want to demonize self-help, as I told you, because self-help really helped me like throughout these years. It can help people develop their self-esteem, for example, right? Increasing their self-esteem, increasing their productivity, increasing their confidence in themselves. They have less anxiety, they have better organization skills, better relationships, less neuroses. And how is that a bad thing? This is great, right? So because that's making your personality fit to live in society, is making your personality healthy, which is fantastic. We want to live in a society where people are healthy as they can be, right? And that might be enough for you, and you might not need to go further, and that's okay. That's totally fine, because what I'm about to talk about is not for everyone, because I'm talking about awakening. And awakening is when you are reaching a point where you are not really satisfied with your personality, and you cannot be satisfied because you either developed it so much, you just maxed out all the skills so much that there's nothing that is satisfying any longer, or the opposite. Maybe your personality was so victimized, and you feel like you're nothing, like you're a victim in life in general, that you cannot live with yourself any longer. And this is exactly the moment of showtime, as they say. Because in my opinion, not one person is ever going to be completely satisfied 100% of the time. Even if they have the best personality in the world. Like, I don't care what you've seen, what celebrities, for example, you've seen that you think, oh my God, their personality is the best thing ever, and they're never getting dissatisfied. Well, I have news for you. That's not what's actually happening, because we, in general, our nature, authentic nature, is huge, is expansive, is a very large, well, I don't want to say entity, but just a very large thing. So when we are kept in the personality, it does not matter which type of personality. It can be the best personality in the world. That's still something that holds you like this. It's tight and it never feels comfortable till the end, right? it might feel comfortable 98%, but there's still like this 2% that is always, 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 always uncomfortable. I guarantee you this. And guess what? This is so because personality always tries to survive. It always has to go somewhere, to strive, to think, to strategize, to plan, to move somewhere, to do something, to reach, to strive, to do anything in order to not be in the here and now. Notice this, right? Because it always thinks that there's better. There's somewhere there. The better that I'm looking for is somewhere there. The grass is definitely greener somewhere, but not here, of course, right? Whereas your authentic nature, and guess what? Everyone has authentic nature, including you, okay? Your authentic nature is always in the now. It can always be found in the now. It's silent. It does not need movement, and it's steadfast, right? It's firm. And it's complete. It's finished. What does that mean? Complete, finished. That means that it does not need self-help or self-development in order to become better than it is already. It's already the best that it can be. It cannot be better, because in that state, when you find your authentic nature, you just find that there, like these definitions of correct, incorrect, better, worse, right, wrong, they just disappear. They just dissipate. In a good way, of course. It's not like you become like a psychopath and you don't care. Well, because nothing matters anyway, right? No. I'm not talking about this. It's a different type of dissipation of all types of definitions, where you stop demonizing yourself, you stop hating yourself, start punching yourself in the face, psychologically I'm talking, right? And you just become enough just because. And it can be no other way. And it's obvious, and it's only experienced, it's only seen in experience, not through watching this video or through reading books about this. You have to actually experience what I'm talking about, and then you will understand, wow, yeah, okay, he was actually right. I am enough. I don't have to work at this specific authentic nature that I'm talking about, okay? So shadow work does not work because when you're reaching your goals, for example, or when you develop your personality to the max, you still do not and will not ever find a sense of completion. And that's actually what Jim Carrey was talking about, right? He actually reached the maximum of what people would usually want to reach, right? So he had fame, and he still actually has fame, a lot of money, success, a lot of people love him, just in general, and a very likable person, right? And a very successful one. Still, even for a person like him, life was not very satisfying, because he actually understood that, wow, I was basically trapped in this dogma, in this in these ideas of materialism that say that my happiness really depends upon success, on money, fame, and so on and so forth. Something external, but not something internal, right? So he actually mentioned in his own way, of course, that it's great to go there after these things that you think are going to make you happy, so that you get them and then you understand that, hey, actually that was not as the thing that I expected. That didn't give me the fulfillment that I was seeking, actually. Huh, interesting. And that's actually going to open you up to go to the next level, right? But first, you got to go through it. And this is necessary. So self-help works until it doesn't, okay? Self-help is needed, but then you will reach a point where you see that self-help does not help. Self-help does not help. That's an interesting thing to say. But yeah, really, literally, this is just basically like rowing a boat, right? And is this a good thing? Yes, of course. When you are on the water, right? Just row until you are at the shore. But then when you are at the shore, are you gonna keep rowing? You can, of course, but that's probably not the best method, right? You probably need to stand and then just move and go inland and change your strategy because it's not going to work. So the same thing with self-help. Self-help is basically, you can imagine, like, for example, from level 1 to 3, you need to work on yourself, This is a key word, self, and to develop it, to work on it from level 1 to 3. But then if you want to reach level 4, then a paradoxical thing that you have to do is to let go of this self and let go of these techniques that were helpful at level 1 to 3. Because at level 4, they're going to be the opposite of helpful. They're going to be useless. That's what I'm talking about. So this work is very interesting, and the self-help, what it is doing, it's increasing and it's empowering the self, and it's making the self healthy, which is great, right? But as you remember, no self is going to be good enough ever, or it's gonna feel comfortable enough ever, and you're not going to find the sense of peace. Like real peace is never going to be found within any personality that you're having there, or any self. What you got to do is you got to let go, and then you're going to be reaching. Then you will reach level 4. So self-help is great. It's developing yourself, but it's not addressing the main issue. And what is the main issue is to let go of the self. That's not what self-help is capable of doing. That's not its responsibility anymore. And then you know what? The cool thing is when you reach that, well, metaphorical, of course, level 4 that I was talking about, when you let go of this self and when you realize that, hey, I don't even exist, in the sense that the owner of the thoughts does not exist, or the owner of the feelings or sensations does not really exist. And you kind of live this very paradoxical life where you exist, but at the same time you don't. And life is very impersonal. At this level, you can still, if you want, you can develop your personality, and this is great. Go ahead, continue doing this. This is awesome if this is what you want to do. But the main key difference is that you're not going to be doing this out of a sense that I have to do this because otherwise I'm going to be a loser or something like that, right? There's no desperation. But there's going to be like a completely different energy about it, which is great. And you will be coming there, out of curiosity. You will continue to develop your personality out of curiosity, out of abundance, not out of lack. So notice the difference, because the differences are quite massive. So the one from level 1 to 3, they're going to be developing their personality from a standpoint of I'm not enough, therefore I have to fix myself in order to become quote unquote enough, right? And the second one, the one that is at level 4, he or she is going to be doing this out of an abundance overflow, basically. And it's just interesting, like, why not, right? The first one, unfortunately, is doing this out of surviving because they need to survive. The second one is doing this out of thriving. And the first one is doing it because they're afraid. And the second one, they're doing this because they're curious. You see, it's completely different energy there. And also the first one is really desperate because it seems like they're running away from death all the time. And the second one is so enthusiastic because he's going towards life. You see the difference there? Away from death and towards life. It's a completely different energy. And you will feel it as well. You will not feel pushed to develop yourself, but you will develop yourself because why not? This is going to be something interesting to you, but not like a complete necessity, psychological necessity I'm talking about, okay? And now let's talk a little bit about perfection, this interesting concept. Or maybe that's not even a concept, maybe that's a reality that we're living in, and we don't even know this. You know, when... like if somebody would come up to me and then told me that, you know what, the world that you are living in right now, the reality that you're experiencing is already perfect. is absolutely perfect. I don't think, even if I really wanted to believe them, like with all of my heart, I really wanted to believe them, I don't think I would have actually believed them before awakening. After awakening, yeah, because it's obvious. You just see how everything it fits perfectly, and nothing really needs to change in order to become more perfect. Like all of the problems stem from thinking that there is a problem and really identifying with these thoughts, sensations, feelings, and really believing that they are your thoughts, your sensations, your feelings. And this is actually the main cause of all of the, egoistic, disgusting, disturbing things like war and rape and murder and all of these things. This, I really believe, is just the reason. I mean, the reason for this is because people are really identified and they don't even realize that they're not thinking that their thoughts, but thoughts are thinking themselves, or thoughts are thinking them. Yeah, I know that this sounds strange, but it's way more closer to truth to say that thoughts are thinking themselves, or uh, thoughts are thinking me. That's closer to truth than I am thinking my thoughts. And really, if we think about this, then how did we come to the conclusion that the world is not perfect right here, right now? Maybe everything is appropriate, everything has its place, everything is correct, everything is valid, and everything is supposed to be the way that it is. And I'm not suggesting, of course, tolerating abuse or something like that, or giving people permission to engage in some abhorrent, behavior like murder, rape. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just not resisting it and just seeing, oh, these people are just delusional. They are acting out of their ego, acting out of their identification with the thoughts. They don't even know the thoughts are thinking them. And just stopping your resistance towards it. Because with this resistance, you're not helping anyone, especially yourself. And so the world is actually perfect, but it's not really visible until you awaken, until you actually start living without yourself, if that makes sense. Probably it doesn't, but if you're awakened, you know what I'm talking about. But let's do an experiment. Let's see how you feel about the next things that I'm gonna list right now. How do you feel when you hear that there are lions or sometimes even sloths, right? These animals, and they are eating sometimes their cubs. Like, how does that feel, right? Now the next one is tiger sharks. Before being born, their embryos, they kill the siblings, their siblings, and they do this in order to survive. Can you imagine this? And there are 12 sometimes, like as many as 12 embryos, brothers and sisters, and they have to fight in order to win, and only one survives. Like, how imperfect is that, right? Quote unquote, of course. But that's what nature created. It's not us, it's nature. Just like the lion one, the example with the lion. And the next one is, can you imagine an assassin bug that kills its prey, kills ants usually, and puts like some type of adhesive that it has in it, and puts it on herself, on itself, on its back. And actually piles them up, like piles up the corpses of their prey, of course. And in order to create like a big giant ball, well, relatively to the bug, of course, kind of a big ball of corpses in order to mask the scent of the bug, and also to discourage maybe some other potential predators from eating it. And is that not one of the creepiest things you've ever heard in your life? This is something from a horror movie, isn't it? So, and if you are not awakened, this might seem like a very horrifying thing, but when you are seeing the unity or the connectedness of the world and the appropriateness of everything, then you're just going to be neutral towards it. Like everything that I said right now, it's not going to disturb you as much as it would others. But if everything that I listed right now sounds like it's not supposed to be here, or it wasn't supposed to be here, or it's like a God's mistake, or the universe's mistake, and something like that, then please consider that you might be viewing yourself as well like this. That there's something wrong with you. Because how you view the world, that's a mirror of how you view yourself. Like when you see the perfection outside, you see the perfection inside as well. And if you resist the world, then you're going to be resisting yourself, unfortunately. And if you think that the world is a bad place, dangerous place, or something that you cannot trust, then guess what? You're going to be thinking of yourself because you're part of this evil, bad, dangerous, vicious world, right? This is going to be on an unconscious level, and you might even not know that this is happening, but this is actually happening. Like anytime you are really criticizing something out there, there's like a part of you that is criticizing yourself as well. And so after awakening, you just realize, just like I mentioned, that everything is perfect. And why so? Because there are no definitions like perfect, imperfect, correct, incorrect, appropriate, inappropriate, right, wrong, light or dark. That does not exist anymore. You just get outside of this duality basically, and everything just starts to make sense. And you just, wow, okay, this is how reality is actually created. And it's so freaking simple when you get there. And everything is the way that it is, and it's supposed to be like this, and it was supposed to be like that as well, and there's no need to change this. But again, that does not mean that you gotta tolerate abuse or tolerate some really abhorrent behavior. It just means that you're not resisting it, and you're just being an observer. But at the same time, you're not really an observer because your consciousness is so developed that you are automatically influencing the world around you, just with your consciousness alone. How cool is that? It's the Maharishi effect. And when it comes to those people that do these disgusting things, you just understand that they have done it out of their ego, just like I mentioned, and it has nothing to do with their authentic nature. And also you view yourself after awakening as a perfect human being. Your authentic nature recognizes itself as a perfect thing, or nothingness, basically, perfect nothingness. Perfectly imperfect nothingness, if that makes sense. And you stop believing, or you renounce believing this thing called I, me, myself, right? Mine. You stop associating with this character that you've built, actually. And you just see that if there's no I, then there's no one who is incorrect. And if there's no one who's incorrect, then how can you say that something is imperfect or someone is imperfect? No, everything is as it is supposed to be. And there's no problem with that at all. And that is why, after you see through the illusion, or in other words, you awaken, you start to understand that your authentic nature is perfect and does not need any self-help, any improvement, any fixing, any repairing to do. Like, no, this is not something that you need to do. No scaffolding or anything like that, okay? And that does not come out of arrogance or something, like I'm so perfect that I don't need to learn anything, like I know everything. That's not what I'm talking about. You just get to a point where you feel enough, and out of this point, now you can decide to learn something if you want to. If you don't, that's okay. You're not learning it in order to become better or something, okay? Because arrogance, I think it always stems from the ego, and ego is oriented to the external world, always has to compare itself to others, other egos, and to compete in order to become a better ego, so to speak, in this competition of egos. This is not what I'm talking about. You just, what I'm talking about is you enter a very authentic space where you just basically are the only one who exists there. And there's no problem with that. And at the same time, there's no arrogance. See, it's really hard to explain it to people that have not passed through the gate. But don't worry, if when you're gonna reach it, and if you're watching this video and until now, you're probably interested in this stuff already. So you will definitely reach it. And when you will be there, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So don't worry about this, okay? So now let's talk about real progress and how that is connected to our authentic nature. So again, our authentic nature does not need self-help, does not need development, because it's fine. It's already kind of there, right? But then we have this mind that always wants to change something, always wants to repair something, to enhance something, right? And how does it do it? It finds faults everywhere. Like it's basically its job to find something to repair, to fix. And you know what? You can find perfect circumstances, perfect partner, perfect relationship, perfect career, perfect house, perfect car, perfect job. That's still not going to be enough. Your mind will still criticize it. Because it's its job. Have you noticed how much you're criticizing yourself and criticizing the world? Well, why is it so? Because it's your mind's job. It's supposed to do this. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the fact that mind is doing its job. You know, your lungs are doing exactly what your lungs are supposed to do. Your eyes are doing exactly what your eyes are supposed to do, and there's no problem with that. But then your mind is doing, or the mind is doing what the mind is supposed to do. And there's no problem with that. You don't have to fight with it. You don't have to resist it, hate it, try to change it, suppress it, suffocate it, or do something with it. You don't need to do this. It's already great. Just stop feeding into its stories, because most of these stories are just exactly that, stories. They have nothing to do with reality, so stop taking them personally, taking them so seriously, okay? So, from the point of view of mind, if you are in your mind still, and you think that you are your thoughts, basically you are in your ego, then, or in the ego, then guess what? Your development will never end. It's a never-ending process, and you will never feel satisfied. You will never feel like, oh, finally I'm there. You will never do this. You will never have this. In order to get outside of this basically disease that is called more, faster, higher, better, more, never enough, never, and I'm never enough unless I get there. And then you get there, and then there's another plank. And then you get there, and another plank, and another plank, and another plank. Basically feeling like a donkey with an apple right in front of it, and you will never be able to reach it because it's not supposed to work like this. You will never be able to reach it. Just forget about this. If you're in your mind or in your personality, in the ego, forget about this. You will constantly be unsatisfied. Even if this dissatisfaction is 2%, 98%, 95%, or more or less, okay? But you will definitely feel some type of dissatisfaction most of your life. But you know what? In order to get outside of this illness, basically the more illness, right? You got to get outside of your mind. And when you get outside of your mind, now real peace, real freedom comes. And then you just realize how this world actually works. And here's the paradox that I actually mentioned. But we will need to develop ourselves until we don't. And then in order to progress, right? In order to develop, in order to start real progress, you gotta stop. You gotta let go, renounce this level 1 from 1 to 3 type of self-help type of work, and then to move into your authentic nature. And realize that everything is okay with you, everything was okay with you, and will be. And it can be no other way. And it never was. And you've been lied to basically your whole life when other people were telling you that there's something wrong with you. And then when you were telling yourself and convincing yourself that not everything is correct with you, basically, that there's something that you need to repair in order to become a worthy human being or an enough person, a correct person, right? But your authentic nature, your core, your nucleus basically is perfect already. And it's your GPS, it's your guru, it's your authority, it's the thing that will guide you, guide the path. And you'll get signals where to go, to go in this direction or that direction. But this will only be available to you when you get to this authentic nature, which is you, which is the real you. And this is not something you can miss. The difference between how you feel on a regular basis and when you really get to know your real authentic self, the difference is going to be massive. And only when you get to know your real authentic self can you finally, actually, for the first time in your life, fully relax. And you know what? It feels as if even your bones are relaxing. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's how it feels like. And it's a relaxation on a consciousness level. This is something the best massage in the world is not going to give you this. This is a different type of massage, if that makes sense. Alright, so thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate you, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more videos like this. And if you have some comments or some questions or some things that you'd like to share with me or with people here, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you have a friend or someone that you think they might like or might find this video beneficial, please share it with them. Here is the summary, and see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.